What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy. And today we're going to talk about something very, very, very cool, very unexpected, very awesome. And it's the fact that the Dallas Cowboys defense leads the NFL in takeaways. That's right. We're through week 3. We're obviously at week 4. The Cowboys host the Carolina Panthers on Sunday. Watch out for our Madden simulation dropping later this week. But the Dallas Cowboys defense has the most takeaways in the NFL. They have taken the ball away 8 different times this season. And I don't care who you are. I don't care how amazing your offense is. If you're taking the ball away, you're putting your team in a position to win. We've seen the Cowboys offense obviously have better field position because of the takeaways their defense is generating. And so this is something that we obviously hope is going to continue throughout the course of the season. There's a lot to kind of figure out, what's going on here, who's responsible for this. We'll get to all that in a little bit. But before that, we want to show you, obviously, all of the 8 takeaways that the Dallas Cowboys have had. So we start first down in Tampa Bay. We're going to go in chronological order here because that's what makes sense. This is the first one of the season. This is the forced fumble that DeMarcus Lawrence has. You see it right there, come loose, and Randy Gregory picks it up, tries to run it back. Obviously, the Cowboys defense is freaking out. We turn the ball over. Oh, my gosh, this is totally different from everything we've ever known before. Trayvon Diggs is there, who's going to be a huge focus in all of these clips that we're going to show you, of course, because that's what defenses love to do, which is awesome. They go, they celebrate, etc. This is the broadcast coverage, so we're going to get to the kind of up close angle they show in just a moment here. But here we go. DeMarcus Lawrence. This is incredible technique right there. That's what we love to see. And this is really maybe my favorite takeaway of the season that doesn't have anything to do with Trayvon Diggs, and there are a lot of Trayvon Diggs ones. And it sucks that DeMarcus Lawrence is out, obviously, with his broken foot right now. Can't wait to get him back. But this is just great, sound, fundamental defensive football. If there's somebody who doubts that DeMarcus Lawrence is a great defender for the Dallas Cowboys, you need to just walk away. We've had that conversation, that argument way too many times, but the why this is happening is because DeMarcus Lawrence is a great defensive football player. You have to pick your moments when it comes to things like this. Charles Peanut Tillman is the author of the Peanut Punch, obviously, and this is a classic version of that. So DeMarcus Lawrence very wisely gets his fist in there, pops it loose, and the rest is obviously history. If the ball hits the ground, you love to see it. So this is the first one. All right. And we can kind of discern why that one happened, right? Very simple. Cowboys defense just makes a great play in DeMarcus Lawrence. The second one, I've been a little bit not critical of, but after the Cowboys lost to the Buccaneers, I said that things like this weren't necessarily, things you can count on, because they're not. This is the first Trayvon Diggs interception of the season, and it's a tip ball off of Leonard Fournette. Trayvon Diggs catches it, and it is great athleticism, obviously, of Diggs to react in the moment, to obviously, be there for the interception, again, go celebrate. But this is not something that is reliable. Now, we'll play this again here, and watch this. I mean, you cannot count on this. You just can't. And that was why after the Cowboys week 1 performance, when we sat here, we talked about how they generated 4 turnovers. We were thinking, okay, well, how sustainable is this? You're not going to get tip balls off of running backs every single week. You're going to have to find a way to make plays on your own. And ultimately, the Cowboys have gone on to do that over the course of the 2 weeks since then. But it is still a turnover, still totally counts. Trayvon is awesome, CB1, elite cornerback, tied for the best coverage grade in the NFL among cornerbacks through week 3. So very, very cool stuff there. Congratulations to Trayvon Diggs. All right, so those are the first 2. This next one is actually the flukiest to me. I mean, I know I talked about the Leonard Fournette tip right here. This is not going to happen, really, ever. And honestly, this shouldn't count. I mean, it counts. It's an interception. I don't want to take away from that, but this is a Hail Mary attempt from Tom Brady at the end of the first half against Tampa. It counts in the box score. It counts on your team record. It counts when you look back on the season totals. It counts for Jordan Lewis in terms of contractual incentives and things like that. But you just, we all can acknowledge that Hail Mary attempt at the end of the first half is not exactly something that you're going to rely on getting a turnover or a takeaway from. I know that Jordan Lewis almost took that one back to the house, but again, a very unique thing. So while the Cowboys have 8 takeaways, there are 7, because I'll even put the Trayvon Diggs first interception there. There are 7 that are just a little bit more authentic, if that makes sense. Now, the final turnover of the Tampa game, this one is great technique, and Brady can go a number of different ways. Chris Godwin's beating the Cowboys defense here. Devonta Casey just gets his hat on the ball. And we love to see that. Jordan Lewis, we talked about this one, bringing the ball out. Don't blame him for that one bit. And you can argue that Devonta Casey isn't necessarily going for the ball. He isn't trying to force a fumble here. But, I mean, again, this is great technique. And let's go back here. Let's go to the beginning here. Chris Godwin, again, break a billion tackles. And right there. And here's the thing. I don't want to, I promise we're going to get to an optimistic place here. But Chris Godwin is 2 yards from the end zone here. And so, this is why I know the Cowboys lost this game, but this is why things are turning in a positive way for the Cowboys, because this is about to be a Buccaneers touchdown. He's 2 yards from the end zone. This is literally stolen points off of the board for the Cowboys defense. And they go down to take the lead in this game. They almost won against the Bucs, as we all know. And so while you can argue that this isn't necessarily sustainable in terms of this exact kind of turnover, it's football and weird things happen. This is far more sustainable than things like the Hail Mary at the end of the first half. But needless to say, we'll take this all day long. And again, this really did almost win the game for the Dallas Cowboys, which is unfortunate. So that's half. The Cowboys have 8 takeaways again through the first 3 games of the season. We showed you the first 3. And I think the first question that we have before we get to the others is what has changed? Because this is new. This is new territory. I'll tweet out, the Dallas Cowboys defense leads the NFL in takeaways. And people will say, man, I never would have thought this. I never would have thought we would have been able to say this about our team. I never could have predicted this. I never would have thought that the Dallas Cowboys defense would be, this good. And this good is still a measurement that I think we're all kind of hesitant to latch onto. We're all kind of waiting to see, okay, what's this good really going to mean? What can the Cowboys do? What can they build on when it comes to obviously generating more turnovers, being more sustainable, more legitimate, more predictable in a good way on the defensive side of the ball? And so we had a lot of questions coming out of that first game, and I think we've had a few of them answered in the last 2 games. So we now go to the Chargers game, and this is Trayvon Diggs. There's nothing you can take away from this one. This is just amazing. And this is against an elite quarterback, and Justin Herbert, obviously. Great, again, go celebrate. This is the first possession of the game for the Chargers, by the way. And I know the Cowboys turned the ball over, which is, unfortunate here. Trayvon's interceptions have really given the Cowboys some great field position. Look at that. Just what a start in California. You ask the question, what has changed with the Cowboys defense, and we'll play it again here because I want to show you how Trayvon has changed in the Cowboys defense, because we have been, I don't want to say fooled, but we have tried to believe in a number of different players being the next star cornerback for the Dallas Cowboys. Morris Claiborne, Brandon Carr, Chidobe Awuzie. It just hasn't happened. This is what's changed right there, that ability to break on the ball, because Trayvon is beat to a degree. You can argue that this should be a catch, but Trayvon is athletic enough and quick enough and smart enough to get where he needs to be and to ultimately pick this ball off. And that is just the disposition, the tenacity, the aggressiveness, and we'll try to slow this down right there. That should be a Keenan Allen touchdown. But Justin Herbert, just not his best throw. You can argue he should have thrown a little bit further out, should have led Keenan Allen just a little bit more. But Trayvon has the athleticism to make a break on that ball. And we've seen corners for the Cowboys who have had athleticism. Morris Claiborne was athletic. Chidobe Awuzie, supreme athlete. But they just didn't have the overall package that Trayvon Diggs does, to the point that he's able to really put it together to, help the Cowboys in this way. Again, a foreign thing that we're seeing from the Cowboys to be this solid and this reliable on defense, which is a crazy way to be. Now, last turnover from the Chargers game. This is the Devonta Casey interception. This one, not the most authentic. This is a really bad throw by Justin Herbert, all things considered. But still, and what I love about this, and we talked about this when we did the highlight from this game, is that Devonta Casey has the wherewithal to fall back into the end zone. And this is what's changed when you talk about that. Trayvon Diggs is a different example. He's a young player, second year in the NFL. But you look at this. I don't know who Justin Herbert's throwing to. By the way, Trayvon Diggs might have picked this off himself if Devonta Casey doesn't. But so to just be fair to the moment, this is not a great throw from Justin Herbert. And it's really strange to see. There's clearly some miscommunication happening here on the Chargers side of things. Obviously, you've got Keenan Allen on the ground there. So Justin Herbert's expecting something very different. Things did not go according to plan. We kind of saw this happen to Dak Prescott in the sack fumble situation against the Eagles on Monday night. If players fall down, bad things are generally going to happen to the offense. But Devonta Casey is in the right place at the right time. and is able to obviously get his hands on the ball. But again, this is what has changed as well. Right there, he falls back. He's not, and this is very different from the Jordan Lewis fumble recovery in week 1, because I think that Jordan Lewis had to have thought he was out of the end zone, because if you're out of the end zone, you can't get tackled back into it because that's a safety. But Devonta KZ realizes he's still fully in the end zone, even though that I think this is interesting, by the way, that shade of green between the blue and the white line, like that would mess with my mind, but that's a whole different thing. But Devonta KZ, either way, smart enough to understand where he is, his field position, and to realize that it is in the best interest of the team, of the offense, of the overall goal, which is putting points on the board, obviously taking them off the board for the Chargers, because I think we all thought the Chargers were going to score at this point. And so Devonta KZ, this is a really, to call it a heads-up play really isn't fair enough. I mean, it is a massive swing of a play. And I think, again, we asked the question, what has changed with the Cowboys defense? It's understanding these things, and it's understanding, that there's a time and a place to be aggressive. And that doesn't necessarily even mean a time and a place to break on the ball or a time and a place to do a certain thing. There's a time and a place to roll some dice. There's a time and a place to get aggressive in your coverage. There's a time and a place to get aggressive when it comes to bringing the ball out of the end zone. But Devonta KZ, in that microscopic moment, as the veteran player that he is, able to fully understand what is at stake for the Cowboys and what is and is not worth risking. And I think that, before we get to the Eagles turnovers, I mean, a lot of people are asking this question: who is responsible for this? Like, what, we've obviously talked about what has changed, what's different, and the players are different, right? Devonta KZ wasn't on this team last year, and he's been responsible for 2 turnovers so far: the forced fumble against the Bucs, obviously, and the interception against the Chargers. And so you've got that obvious change. But I think there's no doubt about it, when you ask who is responsible for this, it's this man, Dan Quinn. Dan the man is responsible. And I don't mean to say that Dan is some, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but I don't think it's that Dan Quinn is a huge genius, or he's come in and just developed an incredible scheme, and he's outclassing, out scheming, opposing offensive coordinators. This sounds negative, and it's difficult to have this conversation without making Mike Nolan look bad, but Dan Quinn is kind of just an adult in the room, right? He's somebody who's been there, who's done that, and who's been there and done that recently, not just as a head coach in the NFL, but obviously as a defensive coordinator. Everybody knows his history with the Seattle Seahawks and the success that they had there. And so people love to talk about how things are simpler now for the Dallas Cowboys defense. I host a show on the Blog on the Boys podcast network with Tony Casillas, 2-time Super Bowl champion with the Cowboys. And this is something that we talk about often. Our show drops every Tuesday. If you want to hear us along with everybody else in the Blog on the Boys podcast network, please do subscribe. We're available on all major podcast platforms. If you can leave a rating and write a review, those things help as well. But what Tony talks about is you can get kind of caught up in assignments. You can get kind of caught up in responsibilities. And so when you simplify things, and that's clearly what happened to the Cowboys last year, when you simplify things, it is just a matter of not get from point A to point B, but, we hear all these cliches all the time, like do your job and whatever, but it really is about that. The Cowboys defense last year, I think we all believed then and still believe that this group, in terms of the collection of players, has a lot of talent, has a lot of athleticism, has a lot of potential. And I think that Mike Nolan just tried to get too cute with that. And that was ambitious, but it was overzealous. And that was something that obviously led to confusion. And then when you get confusion, you don't get great results. And then when you don't get great results, you have frustration. And so you wonder what's the problem, and you can't quite diagnose it because you're trying to execute something and you're partly feeling like you're doing it. And that's just different this year. Dan Quinn has come in and said, you know what? We're just going to be simple. We're just going to rely on our athletes. We're going to rely on our coverage. We're going to rely on our people and our players being in the right places at the right time. And we're going to rely on them to make the right decisions, kind of like Devonta KZ in Los Angeles against the Chargers. So who is responsible for this? Dan Quinn. We love you. Now let's get to the 2 turnovers from Monday night when the Dallas Cowboys beat the Philadelphia Eagles, a sentence that will never get old for as long as life. The first one, Anthony Brown. This is
Zach Ertz is in there, just activated off the COVID list.
Horrible.
Jalen Reagor,
I don't know what's happening here, but kudos to Anthony Brown. Gets on the board this year with an interception. The worst part about this actually was that he was down at the 1-yard line, which put the Cowboys up.
And that is the first turnover of the season by this Eagles offense.
I mean, this is just, I have no idea what Jalen Hurts is thinking, but you look at this, and this is kind of, it's, I don't want to read too much into this, don't get me wrong, but this is the simplicity we're talking about. Now, I think most average corners in the NFL make this pick because, again, look where this ball is. I mean, Jalen Hurts, dude, just put some meat on this thing. But this is just go up and catch it, right? Like that's the most simplified thing in the world. There's a football. I'm right here. Let me catch it. Good for me. Good for Anthony Brown. Gets the easy interception. Congratulations. Devonta Smith doing some celebrations and some love. Everybody go celebrate good times. All right. So that's obviously, it counts. We don't want to take anything away from this defense, but, it was a layup. But anyway, this is the most impressive. This is, I think, everybody's favorite turnover this season. Shout out to Devonta Smith, Heisman Trophy winner, not better than Trayvon Diggs, though, who makes a great break from the ball. Goes all the way back, celebrates from about 15 yards out. You'll love to see it. Absolutely love that. I mean, we could watch this all day. I hated the 7 at first on a corner, but man, it looked so sick on Trayvon Diggs. I got to take that L myself. And the momentum generated from this play is huge, obviously. I mean, it was 20-7, first play or first series of the half of the Eagles, and they had a big gain to Dallas. Got it. Looked like they were going to maybe make some noise. And then Trayvon Diggs gets involved. Right, now, he's obviously aided here by the fact that Devonta Smith fell down, and he obviously knows Jalen Hurts and Devonta very well from their time in Alabama. But this is just Trayvon being an elite athlete again, and Trayvon knowing and all the film study that he has done about his opponent, and that's what's different too. I mean, putting that together, like we talked about, the whole package right there. I mean, if I'm, when I'm done making this, we might make this the header photo on the Block of the Boys Twitter page and the Block of the Boys Facebook page, because it's that beautiful. I mean, it really is. It deserves to be celebrated, accordingly. But this is a play that you can outthink. You can break on the ball too soon, but Trayvon has the patience and the wherewithal to wait for the right moment to pounce, because he knows and he trusts his own internal athleticism to the point that he can do what he wants to do. Intercept this ball,
they know what they like to do. They know their tendencies. And Trayvon Diggs read Smith like a book.
What a great day. So those are the 8 turnovers for the Cowboys defense this season. Again, really different times that we're living in here. And I think the question that everybody wants to know, because we can sit here and we can talk about, okay, this has changed. This is different. DeMonte Casey's here now. Jaron Kearse is here now. Trayvon Diggs is in year 2, is playing like an elite cornerback, which he is. But I've seen the Cowboys before, RJ. I've been burned. You know what I mean? I'm not, this is great and everything, and we'll all have fun and we'll celebrate. But, what I want to know is, can the Cowboys keep this up? Because that's really what it's all about, right? Can the Cowboys keep this up? Can this sustain itself? Can this be replicated week to week in the NFL? Can you continue to steal points? That's the whole idea here, right? Take the ball away, take points away from them and give them to yourself. The Cowboys, the 2 turnovers against the Eagles as an example, the first one doesn't work out because the Cowboys lose the ball and it's a defensive touchdown. But in Trayvon Diggs' case, he literally takes points off the board and puts them on the board for his team. That's what we want. And that's how you win games. That's how you win games when you're a bad team in the NFL, right? Like, if you are just an average team, if you're an average team and you're winning the turnover battle every single week, and if you're taking points off the board and giving them to your offense, you're putting yourself in a position to succeed. That's with like an average team and an average offense. The Cowboys have one of the best offenses in the NFL. I've talked about this several times. You've probably heard me say it, but through the first 4 games last season in 2020, the Cowboys offense began a possession on the positive side of the 50-yard line, so the opponent's territory, one time, just one single time. And that's not the case this year. Some of these takeaways and turnovers and interceptions are obviously happening near the Cowboys' own end zone, like the DeMonte Casey win against the Chargers, the Anthony Brown win against the Eagles. But still, we'll take that, right? But ideally, you're getting takeaways on the positive side of the field, like Trayvon Diggs' interception against Tampa, like DeMarcus Lawrence's forced fumble. If you're getting takeaways in general, you're winning. But if you're giving your offense great starting field position, if you're giving your elite offense great starting field position, you're really starting to cook with gas here. But to get back to the question, how sustainable is this? Is this something that I can believe in over the course of the rest of the season? I get that, because you can look at these turnovers and you can poke a little holes, right? Like, and that's okay. We're not here to criticize the Cowboys, but we're here to be objective and we're here to be real about it. And so we look at the Jordan Lewis interception against the Buccaneers. We look at the DeMonte Casey interception against the Chargers, the bad throw, the fall down that Keenan Allen had. And so you wonder, like, man, well, when we play the Chiefs, Is Tyreek Hill going to fall down? Is Travis Kelce going to fall down? Like, are those things going to happen? Are those things sustainable? So we had that question after the Cowboys beat the Chargers last week. So we had something that we decided to do, a study that we did. Our own Aiden Davis at bloggingtheboys.com does a great job compiling different statistical measurements, and Aiden worked up this graph. Now, I want to show you this, and this is after week 2. So this is following the Cowboys win in Los Angeles. And if you look at this, what you're looking at, I know it's a lot to digest. Obviously, you see the x-axis is takeaways in the first 2 games of a season for every single team in the NFL since the merger in 1970. All right. Now, if you look at the y-axis, it's takeaways from week 3 on. So what we wanted to see was after the first 2 weeks of the season, when the Cowboys had 6 takeaways. So if you look at the horizontal axis there, the Cowboys had 6 turnovers that they had generated after the first 2 weeks of the season. So what would that look like over the course of the rest of the season from week 3 on, as mentioned? That's your vertical axis that we talked about here. So what we found and what we sort of discussed, I wrote about this at bloggingtheboys.com, is all teams since the merger, since 1970, which was now over 50 years ago, all teams that had 6 takeaways at week 2, so that had generated 6 turnovers in a season's first 2 games, averaged about 2 takeaways each game for the rest of the season. And so that large of a sample, when you're looking at since 1970 all the way till now, the reason we included that much time, that length of time, is because that weeds out the luck, right? The fluky turnovers, the Hail Marys, the bad throws, the receivers falling down. When your sample size is over 50 years, you are weeding out the weirdos and the whoops-a-daisies and the whatever little tiny moments that are harder to kind of believe are more replicatable. Replicatable is not a word, but you get my point. The idea here is that it is fair to believe, and it's not just fair like in terms of our current moment, it's fair based off of over 50 years worth of data to believe that the Dallas Cowboys defense will generate 2 turnovers per game the rest of the way. And if you don't believe me, how many turnovers did the Cowboys generate against the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday night? It was 2. We ran this study prior to Monday Night Football. And so if you told me, if you and me sat down together prior to this season and somebody sat down with us, we're having coffee. I don't know. Are we having coffee? Is that what we're doing? We're getting food. I like to have food. Like we'll go sit down somewhere. We'll have some food. But if somebody sat down and said, I'll make you a guarantee right now that the Dallas Cowboys defense will have 2 turnovers every single game, yes or no, do you take that? We would slam the table. We said, dude, I got the check. All right, I'll order whatever you want. There's a whole menu here. It's one of those menus like BJ's Brew House. It's like 18 pages long. Get whatever you want. All right, we will take it. 2 turnovers per game. Good. Because that's a good formula, again, regardless of who you are, but because we also have a high level of belief in this offense. We all believe here that this offense can score with the very best in the NFL, which is evidenced by the fact that they did in week 1 against the reigning world champions. But so, okay, we all already trust the offense, and you're going to give me 2 more possessions, right, every single game. And sometimes those possessions aren't even possessions because they might just be scores, like Trayvon Diggs against the Eagles. I mean, I will take that all day long, and I will feel very good and very comfortable about that. So it has been a very welcome thing that the Dallas Cowboys defense leads the NFL in takeaways through week 3. In fact, if you want to see it again, there it is. The Dallas Cowboys defense leads the NFL in takeaways through week 3. They have 8 total turnovers. Now, their next opponent, as mentioned, since it is week 4, is the Carolina Panthers, and we will have a lot of things to discuss in the lead up to that game. So make sure you subscribe right here to the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. I'm RJ Ochoa. You know me, of course, from Blogging the Boys here on the channel, bloggingtheboys.com, the Blogging the Boys podcast network. We are now really into the season. We're no longer into that like first week, second week where things feel weird. Now we're knee deep into this, and it feels good. It feels right. And it's so enjoyable to experience this season with you. Thank you for taking the time to join us. Let's hope for at least 2 more turnovers on Sundays. The data is right. And we're all about the data here. Maybe we get 3, maybe we get 4. We inflate that average a little bit here. But thanks for joining us, everybody. See you next time.